I had three expectations for Donald Trump's Oval Office meeting with President Zelensky, and all of them came true. The first was that Trump would lash out and lose his mind, which is always going to be the case. The second, that Trump would praise Putin and do his bidding, and of course that happened. But the third was that Zelensky wasn't going to put up with the bullshit, and he didn't, mocking one of the biggest Trump stunts yet in a hilarious takedown that we are going to get into, and of course Donald Trump's meltdown. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the hilarious joke that Zelensky cracked mocking the stunt that Donald Trump was trying to pull in this meeting, I want to start with one of the strangest answers to a very easy question that Donald Trump gave about this war.
Mr. President, a very touching letter from the First Lady, and the letter was hand-delivered to President Putin, and it calls for an end to the war, essentially, because of the children and the children's future. Why did the First Lady feel that letter was necessary? Was it because she believes that Mr. Putin is the aggressor in the war? Is a similar letter being hand-delivered to President Zelensky?
So the First Lady felt very strongly. She's watched the same thing that you watch and that I watch. I see things that you don't get to see, and it's horrible. But when she's got a great love of children, she has a wonderful son that she loves, probably more than anybody, including me. I hate to say it, but she loves her son. She loves children, and she hates to see something like those that you see on television.
Yeah. So the answer there, Donald, was supposed to be yes. She does care about children, as do I, and not describing a young child who is in fact your son like you've never heard of him or met him before. This is just the cognitive decline of Trump, and also his complete lack of empathy. Trump doesn't care about other people, so his descriptions of Melania caring about her child, which is also Trump's child, is something so foreign and unknown to him. He's like, she likes people, and most people, I think, like people. It's just like, it doesn't, the words don't feel right in his mouth unless he's attacking and berating and fear-mongering, which is exactly what he tried to do about DC before we saw the Zelensky takedown.
You know, its credibility is at an all-time low. We have a thing going on right now in DC. We went from the most unsafe place anywhere to a place that now friends are calling me up, Democrats are calling me up, and they're saying, sir, I want to thank you. My wife and I went out to dinner last night for the first time in 4 years, and Washington, D.C. is safe, and you did that in 4 days. I'll tell you, it's safe. I had another friend of mine. He has a son who's a great golfer. He's on tour. And he came in fourth yesterday in the big tournament where Scotty Scheffler made the great shot. And he said his son is going to dinner in Washington, D.C. tonight. I said, would you have allowed that to happen a year ago? He said, no way, no way. He said, what you've done is incredible. And I think the people realize it. But the press says, he's a dictator, he's trying to take over. No, all I want is security for our people. But people that haven't gone out to dinner in Washington, D.C. in 2 years are going out to dinner. And the restaurants the last 2 days were busier than they've been in a long time. Thank you.
Again, it was no surprise to anyone that Donald Trump would come in with just the strangest diatribes, trying to distract. This is a day that should be about peace, but Donald Trump is still trying to declare war on Washington, D.C., and it's why there are protests that I'm in fact about to go to across the district. But this is what Donald Trump wants to do. He wants to distract, and he wants to make a big show. And part of that show is what Zelensky was wearing. And that is the reason Trump got mocked. But it starts with what happened this morning. One Trump advisor, partially in jest, told Axios this morning that it would be a good sign for peace if Zelensky wore a suit on Monday, but added, we don't expect him to do it. Said another, it would be great if he wore a tie, but we don't expect him to do so. The source added that Vice President Vance was more annoyed than Trump by Zelensky's look and attitude. The last time around, the tie thing was a JD thing when it first happened, and it led to Zelensky mocking Trump right here.
President, last week,
Brian, go
Mr. President,
ahead, Brian.
Yes, sir. I've got a question for each of you.
Yes.
First of all, Mr. President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, looks good.
I said to the one that attacked you last time. See, now he's in.
I remember that.
I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit. You see, I changed, you are not.
Maybe yours is much better.
That is just so delicious. Once a comedian, always a comedian. That's just hysterical. Zelensky mocking Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend is exactly the type of energy that you expect out of a guy who is actually a leader, actually, to steal the MAGA term, which is not a MAGA term, but like actually an alpha, actually a real guy with some chutzpah behind him. Like, he's not going to put up with the bullshit from Brian Glenn. Like, why is he even there? Brian Glenn is like the diversity hire because he looks like an alien and he's dating one too. Like, Brian Glenn is MAGA DEI, but just a hilarious takedown from Zelensky, clearly mocking the fact that Trump demanding he wear a suit, Vance demanding he wear a suit, making a whole scene of it last time, saying that was the reason that they couldn't get a deal done because he wasn't wearing some big, long, ugly, red Chinese tie. It's stupidity, but Zelensky is always able to hold his own. Unlike Donald Trump, who, after that comment, I don't know if it was because of that comment, but decided he was going off the rails and started attacking mail-in voting.
Real quickly, you pushed out on social media.
Brian, go first.
You pushed out on social media about doing away with mail-in ballots and potentially electronic voting machines. Can you expand on that and how important
Well,
that is?
that's a very off-topic, just
Sorry.
really quickly. Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt. And you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them because of what's happened. Massive fraud all over the place. The other thing we want change are the machines. For all of the money they spend, it's approximately 10 times more expensive than paper ballots. And paper ballots are very sophisticated with the watermark paper and everything else. We would get secure elections. We'd get much faster results. The machines, I mean, they say we're going to have the results in 2 weeks. With paper ballots, you have the results that night.
Again, this is supposed to be a conversation about peace, not attacking and undermining our elections. But Donald Trump will always be Donald Trump and always lose his mind. By the way, there are countless countries that use mail-in voting. Donald Trump hasn't said exactly why this is a problem. It is also important to note the fact that Putin attacked mail-in voting and said that Trump shouldn't do it the last time that they communicated. So it looks like Putin wants to interfere, not just in the 2016 election, but in 2020, 2024. Do you remember those calls that happened in polling places? Started in Russia, bomb threats. You remember those on election night? So 2024 as well, and now it seems like 2028. I don't know if that's on behalf of Donald Trump or a different Republican, but clearly they want to meddle. And of course, we know Donald Trump wants to steal the midterms. He knows how weak he is in this moment, and he proved it out by capitulating to Putin right here.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last week, you warned of what you called severe consequences if a 30-day ceasefire or any type of ceasefire were not agreed to by Russia. Will there be severe consequences? Does that change because of
I
your
don't
meeting
think you
with
need a
President Putin?
ceasefire. You know, if you look at the 6 deals that I settled this year, they were all at war. I didn't do any ceasefires. And I know that it might be good to have, but I can also understand strategically why, well, you know, one country or the other wouldn't want it. You have a ceasefire and they rebuild and rebuild and rebuild, and, you know, maybe they don't want that. But if you look at the 6 deals that we made peace and you know, long-term, long-running wars, I didn't do any ceasefires. Would I like the concept, you know, I like the concept of a ceasefire for one reason, because you'd stop killing people immediately, as opposed to in 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it takes. But we can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other. But all of these deals I made without even the mention of the words ceasefire.
Of course, Donald Trump is going to backtrack on a ceasefire. Of course, Donald Trump is going to backtrack on everything, on any accountability for Putin, backtrack on sanctions. What, he gave him a letter from his wife, and like that was his big stand up and be strong moment. I saw the clip of, I think it was the B-52 bombers flying over Putin and Trump in Alaska, and all the MAGA guys were like, yeah, he's intimidating him. Look how tough he is. Look how tough he is. The dude couldn't take a press conference. He couldn't speak to him one-on-one. Literally, their one-on-one meet had to be rearranged so that Marco Rubio could be there and like hold Donald Trump's hand. Is this not embarrassing to anyone? This is failed leadership. This is fake leadership. You want to see real leadership, though? Look to President Zelensky.
And to that point, President Zelensky, are you prepared to keep sending Ukrainian troops to their deaths for another couple years, or?
Dumb question from Peter Doocy. Unsurprising. A dumb question, though. He's not sending people off to battle without care. This is a man who has actually been in the fight with his troops, with his people the whole time. There were protests in D.C., just protests, peacefully, by the way, in 2020, and Donald Trump ran to a bunker like a little baby. That's what Donald Trump does. You think Donald Trump would be on the front lines? You think Donald Trump, the guy who didn't want to get his hair, or his rat's nest hair wet, visiting fallen soldiers, would be standing with our service members? The suckers and losers guy? What a bullshit question from Peter Doocy. These people are just such a joke. It's embarrassing that Donald Trump, the person who claimed who would stop this war in 24 hours, is not being held liable for the lives lost, but instead it's Peter Doocy blaming a real leader. It's embarrassing, and I hope it comes to an end. We're going to keep calling it out. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.